Jamal Adams sends more mixed signals. The Jets announced uniform numbers for 29 players, which means, Becton, Mims, all the rooks. And the NFL shortens the preseason to 2 games. Sabo Radio, back again. JetsXFactor.com, JetXShop.com. Check it out. Whether you're on YouTube or iTunes or Spotify, check out those links. Good stuff going on at the website. Michael Nania, Joe Blewett, with film and analytics. And, of course, the shop, which we're going to be pushing pretty soon, in addition to the mobile app that's coming out soon. Good stuff happening at Jets X Factor. Now, Jamal Adams. More mixed messages, more mixed signals, from negative to positive within the matter of hours, really. First, on Tuesday, he likes a tweet that is basically trashing the Jets, as the YouTube people could see here on the screen, on Reddit. The tweet, it's not a good one, from @PassMeTheHookah, HOOKAA. Quote, if the Jets weren't so bad, he'd probably wait it out another year on his current deal. A winner wants to win. Changing the Jets to a winning franchise is going to take so much more than a first-team All-Pro safety, LOL. He wants to win, man. End quote. Jamal Adams liked this tweet. Now, I think it happened in the morning. It happened earlier in the day. No, it might have been in the afternoon. Either way, it happened before he sent the positive posts that got Jets fans in a frenzy. Incredibly frenzied. Incredibly ready to roll. First, he retweets a JetX film breakdown, which we'll have to credit JetX if the mojo turns around from this point. But actually, before that, he tweeted to somebody in a great mood, and the quote was, "Mood for real." Laugh out loud. Basically just saying he's in a great mood. This was on Tuesday. Then he retweeted the JetX film breakdown of him making a great play against Buffalo in Week 18 on a screen. He pretty much reads it right away, diagnoses it, and only a guy like this could make this play. I don't think people realize how good a play this is here from Jamal Adams. 2018 in Orchard Park. There he is right there, playing pretty much linebacker. Jets in a cover 3 look pre-snap. Turns out to be a cover 3 off coverage with the corners. 4-man rush. There's Jamal, looking to get to his curl flat. But he's reading it. He knows it's not a run, that play action, the motion, that's all for naught. Jamal will never take a false step on that. Right here, he sees the screen. The 2 linemen are coming out, and Jamal knows he's a little out of position against the screen. He has to get down, take it on with his inside shoulder, pinch it in, and make sure that back doesn't get outside of him. Right there, look where he makes contact with the inside shoulder. He's going to drive it a little bit, hit the blocker, disengage, and reassess. Right there, he reassesses. He sees the screen developing nicely. The Jets are in trouble, even though they do only rush 4. So from here, he really has to get down, put himself in a good position to maintain outside in placement as a strong safety. And that's what he does right here. And from here, it's just incredible athleticism, incredible tackling, and just a motor that no other safety in this league has. That's just one of the best plays you'll ever see a strong safety make on a football field. A screen that had a chance to go big time. Now here's Jamal. Forget it with the play action. Josh Allen, what are you doing? Look at that guard stand straight up. No run would happen from that look with that guard. And Jamal knows this. He bails to the curl flat, But once he starts to, he notices the screen developing, and it's all reads. He reads the offensive lineman beautifully. He knows what he needs to lock onto. Puts himself in a good position as a strong safety. Out on the edge. Beautiful play. That's just something that no other safety could do. Anyone who could potentially replace Jamal cannot do this. It was a 1st and 10 situation in the fourth quarter, and honestly, it's one of his best plays in the NFL. It's not that flashy, while it's a little flashy because of the open field tackle, but it's one of the more underappreciated great plays a strong safety can make. He quotes the video, the breakdown, quote, "Can't wait to get back on the field. #Prez." Shortly after that, quote, "Missing ball right now." End quote. Then shortly after that, the biggie, he posts a picture in a Jets uniform. Could have chose LSU. Could have chose him training. Chose the Jets. Quote, "On top, and I'm staying there." #Prez. This, of course, got Jets fans in a frenzy, as it should. And if you think about Jamal right now, where he's winning is the business game. His social media accounts are becoming must-watch. His social media accounts are becoming must-watch. Remember, he has that YouTube channel he started a couple years ago. Probably doesn't have enough time to really dig into it. But he knows Twitter and Instagram, if he creates these storylines and this news, his Twitter accounts become top-notch. Incredible business. And he knows this. So, while you may think he's failing in terms of perceived value across the league, that even though he is the best safety in the game, if he's being a pain in the ass off the field, other teams won't want him, won't value him as much. Of course, some teams will want him. I mean, of course, he'll never have a problem finding a job. But in terms of value, even if you think he's losing in that regard, he's winning in terms of his non-NFL business life, social media. And the more eyeballs he can get on him, on that Twitter account, that Instagram account, eventually the YouTube account, the more it's going to benefit him in this specific area. Listen, he's a big LeBron fan. He's a big Jordan fan. He understands business. He wants to be one of those guys who develops that brand. So that's one spot he's definitely winning. Whether or not he's had his come to Jesus Jets moment and he's looking to put out some positive Jets stuff to see if the fans bite and see if he's welcome back, who knows? Who the hell knows? I just think this kid is an honest kid who wears his emotions on his sleeve, which works on the field, sometimes gets him in trouble off the field, but there is strategy behind this game, and he's doing it for social media purposes, and probably, maybe, to get the hell out of town to get to a winner, or get paid. There's many different end results, end goals, but it's obvious what he's doing. So, again, toying with fans, if you want to call it, go for it. I think most of it is just brutal honesty. And I think honesty is what will save the day if the Adams-Jets marriage works out. Because how does Douglas and the Jets welcome back a guy like this who's destroyed the Jets' perceived credibility like this over the last few weeks? How do they welcome him back and still preach trying to build the best culture in sports? Very tough sell. Only honesty will get it done for Joe Douglas and the Jets. He'd have to walk up to the podium and just be as honest as possible. Tell them this is a special player, and we would only do this for that special player who does everything right on the field, in the locker room, when he's happy and fairly compensated. And only honesty would get it done for Jamal, too. You'd have to tell the fans, look, I know I crossed the line. I know I ventured into uncharted territory with how I acted, but it was all done for one express purpose, to get that money. While I still think it's a tough sell on both sides, because I think it does matter how people act, that's the only way to salvage it. Just brutal honesty. And Adams, he's an emotional, honest kid. The Jets remain quiet, and it's the best move to remain quiet. Try to generate other news like they did last week with the conference calls. And we go from here. More to come. But I'll tell you what, if the tide does turn, credit JetX for that film room breakdown. Getting Jamal hyped for football again. That's the key. For you Jets fans out there, get him hyped for football again. He loves the game so much. Everybody knows he won't want to hold out. And I'll say it, he won't hold out. He loves the game that much, and he knows holding out will hurt. Hurt. So much more than it will help him. Next, the NFL cut the preseason slate down to 2 games. I remember back in the day, I was a young kid in the early 90s when it was 6 games. I think the Browning-Nagel year of 92, it was still 6 games, if I'm not mistaken. And the Jets went 6-0, and they looked great. Either 6-0 or 4-0. Now, I'm not sure which year it was when they cut down to 4. But now, due to the current environment, the coronavirus, everything that's happening, they've cut it down to 2 games. They've removed week 1 and week 4. So they're going to give an extra week after the preseason, before week 1. And they're going to give an extra week once training camp starts on July 28th until the first preseason game. Pro Football Talk reported it first, and then Field Yates helped explain it. July 28th, Field Yates of ESPN. July 28th, all teams report to training camp. Then starts a 23 acclimation period. Whether or not media will be there remains to be seen, and if they are, it'll just be for the outside practices and outside under the tent interviews. Maybe even not for that. We'll see. But preseason week 1 for the Jets will be, or for the NFL, will be between August 20th and the 24th, which means the Jets week 2 date in Detroit on August 20th should remain set. And then their week 3 date at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers would also remain set on August 28th. So every team will just have 1 home game, 1 road game. The Jets, we don't know if they keep it the schedule the way it is. There's no Jets-Giants this year, and there's no Jets-Eagles, the 2 staples in the preseason. It'll be Lions and Steelers. But we don't know if that's the case. They could maneuver things around and squeeze the Giants in there. After all, it makes more sense to make it the Giants and the Eagles. Jets and Giants don't have to travel, and Philly's hop, skip, and a jump away. So we'll have to stay tuned for that. Only 2 preseason games. Personally, I understand it during the summer, what's happening, but I don't like it if they opt to go for the 2 preseason games moving forward, which they can, which is available to the NFL in the new CBA. They could cut down on preseason games. With a 17-game schedule, that's most likely what they're going to do. I hate it. 4 is perfect. There are kids who weren't drafted high, who are trying to make a living, earn a living, create a livelihood for themselves, and they can only do that in the preseason. If training camp was still run like it was in the 70s and the 80s, where hitting was allowed and live action was allowed, I could understand cutting down on preseason games. But training camp is not training camp anymore. You can't hit. You can't go live. So it's harder for these kids to make an impression. And the preseason games allowed them to do so. So it'll be interesting how they handle the 2 preseason games. What will they do? My guess would be trot out the starters for the first one for maybe a quarter. And then the second one is the dress rehearsal. Or the second one, also, they trot them out for just a quarter. And then the other 3 quarters, they run auditions for the young kids. But to me, it's just not enough. I enjoyed watching the young kids try to make a name for themselves. You really get into it. If there was just 2 games in the preseason, the year Victor Cruz joined the Giants, Victor Cruz may have never made it. It's just that simple. Robbie Anderson impressed in the preseason. Undrafted guy. Wayne Corbett. The list goes on and on. I don't like it. I think it's a mistake. Elsewhere, the Jets unveiled official uniform numbers for 29 players. Rookies, acquisitions, and players that are just changing numbers. Big Mekhi Becton. Mount Becton gets his wish, gets number 77. The number he told us in the conference call he was targeting and then put on Twitter. His reasoning was basically just wanted something new. He's never worn it, and then now he's got his wish. Mekhi Becton 77, Denzel Mims 11, Ashton Davis 32, Jabari Zuniga 92, LaMichael Perrine 22, James Morgan, Captain Morgan 4, Cameron Clark 72, Braden Mann 7. Braden Mann at 7, I like that. It's a quarterback number. It's not exactly a punter number, so I like that. For some of the free agent acquisitions, Joe Flacco 5, the familiar 5. Rashad Perryman 19, Pierre Desir 35, Patrick Onwuasor 51, Connor McGovern 60, Greg Van Rotten 62, Josh Andrews 68, George Fant 76. Going back to the rookies, Denzel Mims, it just fits, number 11. That fits him. And yeah, going right to another number 11, a tall, lanky kid after Robbie Anderson this season, directly after Robbie Anderson, might shed a tear. A couple of Jets fans might shed a tear for that, but not a big deal. He's perfect with number 11. It looks right. In terms of the veterans, Connor McGovern with number 60 is an interesting one. DeBrickashaw Ferguson. He wore it for all 10 years of his Jets career. Never missed a game, only missed 1 snap in his entire career. I think he made 3 Pro Bowls, never an All-Pro. He won't be a Hall of Famer. Never reached those heights. And the only thing I could say is, listen, this is football. 90 players in the summer. 55 in the regular season. 65 if you count the practice squad. You can't be George Steinbrenner in the Yankees and make a mockery of the entire thing. It just loses all its value. You can't retire numbers and hold back numbers in football. It just doesn't work. So, DeBrickashaw Ferguson, as much as everyone loves him, he just didn't reach those heights. Namath, Maynard, Martin, Revis, who eventually will be called upon. Those, you could only hold back the numbers, retire the numbers with the legendary players. Even Wayne Corbett. People thought Jamison Crowder would get number 80 last year. But Wayne Corbett's kind of one of those special cases. He wasn't an immortal. He's not a Hall of Famer. Not by a long stretch. He's just one of those guys who came at the right time and came from the right circumstance. The underdog, the Garfield, New Jersey native, the walk-on, Hofstra. Those guys happen once a century. But football, you can't hold back numbers unless it's absolutely immortal status. Other players, Josh Doxson got 18. A lot of receivers in the teens. Brett Mayer, 2. Ross Travis, tight end, 43. Let's see. Other rookies. They got all the drafted rookies here. Undrafted rookies, Lawrence Cager will don number 1 in the summer. George Campbell, 6. Dominique Davis, defensive lineman, 61. Jared Hilbers, tackle, 79. Bryce Huff, edge, 47. Lamar Jackson, not the quarterback, 36. And Sterling Johnson, 66. Changes. Anthony Siafi goes from 45 to 37. Mike White goes from 8 to 5. Moves from 5 to 8. Siafi moves from 37 to 45. And Jordan Willis moves from 60 to 55. Not bad. In terms of the rookies, it fits pretty nicely. And lastly, We end on Jamal Adams. We start on Jamal Adams. We end on Jamal Adams. It's a Jamal Adams offseason, folks. There was a time for the young, this is especially geared towards the young fan. There was a time when all you knew was a jubilant Jamal Adams. You didn't know anything else. Yeah, he'd be sad and depressed after losses, but it wasn't overwhelming like it was last year, like it is during this offseason. It's been so long, it's been so frequent, the young fan can't remember what a jubilant Jamal Adams looks like, sounds like. Well, in 2018, there was the perfect scenario to bring out a jubilant Jamal Adams. It was in the locker room after the Jets beat the Broncos. I think it was 34-16 at MetLife Stadium to improve to 2-3. And the LSU Tigers, Adams' Tigers, lost to Marcus May's Florida Gators the day before. So there was a lot of ribbing going on back and forth. Remember, this is the game where Marcus May returned an interception with no time left, 104 yards, and got tackled at the 1-yard line. Who does that? Marcus May does that. So Jamal Adams wasn't happy about the LSU question asked by, well, now JetX, then ESNY, and make sure he calls out Marcus May appropriately.
If you want to make me mad, or you don't want to make me, obviously you don't want to make me mad, but if I'm mad, it's because of that, man. I don't like missing tackles. I pride myself on tackling, and I'm the safety. Me and, Marcus May, we're the last defense. We got to get everything down, so I can't miss that tackle in that situation. But I was like, man, I got to make up for it, and, I definitely made up for it.
You did.
Any official word on LSU, Florida?
Man, come on. I'm hurt, man.
It's Sunday. You're talking about the animal.
Honestly, we got to keep this on low. Losing to them, it hurts so much. I was like, honestly, if we don't come out here and win this game, I might cry. So I was determined. This was definitely going to be the game that we had to win, for sure.
What was your message to Marcus after that last play of the game?
Honestly, man, Marcus and I have a great relationship, and we work on certain things in practice to where if situations happen, we need to make it do what it do. We got to get the ball in the end zone. So for him to catch the ball, great, let's go score. So, hey, he cuts back, and I'm looking at him. Usually in practice, we pitch the ball to each other behind to go score if we get tired. And Marcus May did not pitch the ball. But
It's Florida.
I think he was, Florida. He got caught on the 1-yard line. I think it was by a lineman. Or it was a quarterback. It was a quarterback or a lineman, I want to say. He got caught on the 1, but he's definitely going to be on not top 10.
Yeah, folks, it's a long stretch and a long cry from what's going on right now. So remember, when thinking woe is me and the apocalyptic world has shown its face and nothing will ever go good for you as a Jets fan, remember, Jamal Adams is not this miserable guy all the time. Remember, it's hard to because of what's happened this offseason, what's happened since the trade deadline. In the locker room, he was even more down and gloomy after losses than normal last year after the trade deadline. But remember, that's not him all the time. And if the Jets truly have the right GM, which I think they do, good times are ahead. Stay tuned for check back on YouTube or the site for more film breakdowns. Blewett's working on someone right now. Let's see. I forget who it is. It's another rookie. No, it's a veteran. He's working on Pierre Desir right now. So check back for that. Pierre Desir content. And I'm probably going to do a Jamal Adams breakdown of plays that only he can make and nobody else. And there's a lot of them. There's a ton. So stay tuned to the YouTube channel. Subscribe. Make sure you get the notifications, share everything. I hate saying this crap. It's silly and stupid, but it works. I don't know why. People are crazy out there. Until next time, Sabo Radio.